Hi, I'm Jeff Stuffings from Jester King Brewery, and I'm here to give you your craft beer and brewing tip of the week. So for hops for farmhouse ales, to me that's one of the most fun places to experiment. So for so many styles, like hops are just flat out fun to work with. They're so dynamic in terms of their flavors, their aromas. There's so much terroir from hops. I would never say that, farmhouse brewers hold the patent, if you will, on terroir. Far from it. I mean, you can have hop-driven beers that display a remarkable degree of terroir. And for us, I think that lends to uniqueness we're getting in our beer, while being fully upfront with the fact that, our hops are not coming from Texas. We've picked some traditional varieties like Saisons and Fuggle. We've also gone with some varieties that supposedly are more kind of heat, pest, and drought resistant, like Neo-Mexicanus hops, which are actually native to Texas and New Mexico out in the desert. Keep in mind that's a totally different elevation out in the high plains versus here in central Texas. So just saying that they grow in Texas in the wild may not necessarily be instructive for trying to grow them here at Jester King. We found that with certain things we grow here, like grapevines, for instance, it's just almost like set them and forget them because they just go and they're super vibrant. Where we found our hops have to be highly babied just to kind of get off the ground. So it's been a challenge to grow hops here. We also have a hop aging program here at Jester King. This is more for our lambic inspired beers, less so for farmhouse, although when I kind of talk about hop bills for farmhouse, I would say that adding a little bit of aged hop character can be quite lovely. Real simple. We take fresh hops that are low alpha, whole leaf hops. I find the pellets are hard to age because they retain too much bitterness. You can take a pellet hop that's been aged at ambient temperature for years, crack it open, and you'll still see kind of bright green on the interior of that pellet. Whereas the whole leaf hops, if you break apart the bales, they'll age relatively quick. Even in 12 to 24 months, they'll get pretty old and wilted, and they'll lose all their color and become pretty, aged. We just do that at ambient temperature in the attic of a barn. Gets up to, 110 degrees in the attic of that barn in the Texas summer. So that ages them pretty fast. So if you're doing it at home or in a professional brewery, I would find, maybe your boiler room or something, the hottest part of the brewery to age hops. We, inspired by the Franco-Belgian tradition, typically use hops of a noble variety or at least a noble-esque type of hop profile. Our workhorses are Saaz, Fuggle, Golding, Pearl, hops that are typically, low alpha, that are going to be fairly herbal and spicy. I love those hops. I think they're just, from a sensory perspective, just wonderful to taste and to smell. And the cool thing about them is, being such low alpha, you can use them in pretty high quantities. Although our beers, when you taste them, they don't come off per se as hop bombs. But if you look at our hop bills, they're pretty aggressive. We'll have somewhere, not kind of so much in your 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pounds per barrel, but 2 to 3 pounds per barrel is not uncommon for us. Petite Prince, our table beer, that is right around that 1.5 pounds per barrel for a tiny little beer, and it works. So I would say don't be afraid, with your early additions you kind of hit that, 25, 30, maybe even 40 IBU, and a lot of it's personal taste as well. And we've always liked to kind of load up on late edition and Whirlpool hops. And for more on brewing rustic, farmhouse, and table beers, please click on the link below.